I've very recently quit my full-time job, and I think LinkedIn allowed me to do that.
So how did you get into LinkedIn in the first place?
I've been on LinkedIn for a while now. Actually, my journey started from being a student, just looking for new opportunities. But before even knowing what LinkedIn was about, everybody would tell you at uni, oh, you have to get on the platform. And then I did that, but it was a bit confusing of what it is all about. So I started doing it in my own way. I've done a lot during like middle school, high school. So I wanted to showcase that somewhere. So I started just sharing my stories of the projects I did or any sort of activity I was part of. That's how it started. But I've started to gain a little bit of traction on there. I wasn't doing as well as now, but I was attracting the opportunities that were relevant to me. For example, somebody reached out to me for an internship because they were hiring students. They saw I was part of student association, etc. So having all of the like my presence and my profile optimized and being the one who shares all of that has attracted the right audience, I would say. So that's where I've realized the power of it. Since then, a lot has changed from the student. Then I went into using LinkedIn as a co-founder. My brother and I had this social media agency during COVID helping elderly get into Instagram marketing. So I was promoting this company for different business partnerships on LinkedIn. So then I had that experience. Then during school, during uni last year, I had an e-commerce business. So then I started promoting that. So I had diverse experience, I would say. And then finally, I actually got my full-time job offer from LinkedIn as well.
Wow.
It was a DM that came through. I've never really applied for jobs, which was, I think, interesting because everybody around me were struggling to find those internships and jobs. And that's the moment when I realized like I'm doing something right. But that was not an intention, it was never a strategy behind that. But once I realized that, and once I became that go-to person for my peers and friends of like, can you help me with LinkedIn? Like your profile looks so good. So then I started thinking about it from a more strategic way of like, okay, so how can I make use of it now that I have a full-time job, I've graduated, like how can I separate that and create a business out of it? So, actually, no, that is not true. Before getting to that thought of how can I create a business out of it, I started utilizing my platform as a fresh graduate. So what I was doing is, because I would get so many people ask me to help them, I started sharing resources on my personal page, and I was targeting graduates and uni students only. So I was just sharing a lot of content around like how to write a post about you, like how to showcase your achievement that you did during school, things like that. And that's actually how I started. But that's when I had a content strategy in place, but I wasn't trying to sell anything like at all. So I guess it is true when everybody says like give value first, because that's how it started. I was just sharing free resources all the time. And then I had my first ever client who would be reaching out to me saying, by the way, do you offer this type of services? And that was the first time that thought ignited in me. And then I was like, okay, so there's a demand for this actually. How can I use my experience and expertise and all the things that I've gained from this years of being on the platform and help others? So that's sort of how it started. And then I got to work with a lot of CEOs, founders, executives. That's what I do now as well. And from very diverse industries, like from oil and gas to recruitment to SaaS. Like I've had people even in K-pop. So
wow.
That's one of the best things about LinkedIn as well, because the people I've met through there, it was always very unexpected. And some of the industries I've never even had any interaction with before. So it has opened up my eyes a lot. And I'm learning from every client I've had as well. So it's always like a two-way relationship.
That's amazing. Yeah. Let's rewind a little bit on that, because so you were a student when you first started the LinkedIn page. So what drew you to LinkedIn in the first place?
Yeah, I guess it's like everybody's university saying you have to be on the platform, but then nobody tells you what to do on the platform. Everyone's
no one also tells you why to be on. Like, what's the reason behind it? Yeah,
I guess my first thought was that it's for like applying for jobs, and that was the first impression of it as well. Like, use it as your CV, use it as your resume, apply from there. But then I realized like there's much more into it, and that's the actual people behind those screens, right? And you can build that relationship, and it allowed me to network and find people to network with, which I didn't have before. And that has actually impacted me a lot. And even now, like what differentiates me maybe from others doing similar work that I do is that I'm all about building relationships first. And that is also like my tagline, to turn relationships into leads and always approach it from within like a very open mind and start a conversation and get to know somebody first before doing any cold selling or asking them for a job or trying to get them as a client. So yeah, I started from just having no idea what I'm doing on platform, building relationships, and then it got me where I'm at today.
How did you build those early relationships at the beginning?
I started with the first degree connections. So let's say like people who were teaching in my university, people who were studying in my uni, or the friends of friends or connections of connections per se. Those were the people that maybe like I knew directly or not directly, but I had like one mutual. So then I would approach them saying like, hey, like I'm Mariam, I do this, like I'm a student. I was a business school, I'm a marketing and management graduate. So I was just telling them what I do. And I was honestly, just starting conversations like with no real purpose, I would say. Like there was never any like exact intention around it, but I guess that's what worked. Like just having that open conversation and putting yourself out there and getting others to connect back with you.
That sounds amazing. But like what was the moment that clicked in your head? Because loads of people, look at LinkedIn as an opportunity platform and they want to push really hard on it, but then they move on to a different project, or they do this, they do that, or they don't get the sort of initial traction to sort of warrant it or anything. So what sort of kept you on the platform and kept you motivated to post on it or develop more relationships? What sort of kept you going?
That's a great question. For posting part, I would say like growing up, maybe it was my mom's influence that I remember she would like always collect every certificate I would get or every little badge, like starting from like, I don't know, first grade, So I always had this huge folder of collecting everything, and she would be like, you will need it in the future, like collect it all. So then LinkedIn for me, the way I saw it was like, oh, I can actually just collect all of that digitally. So I don't have to have those papers. Like I can just share everything there. And then all of my history, professional career will be there. So that's what kept me going. That's what motivated me to post, really, of like having this like one place where I keep everything, like a track of all the activities I've done and all the achievements I've had. But then I did it with mixing my personality and speaking as me and not trying to fit into somebody else's narrative. So that's what got me to build those relationships with people, because that's how I could like genuinely and authentically connect with them, really. But yeah, if you think of it that way of like, okay, like I'm collecting my memories in one place and just like all of my achievements, all of my stages of life, like not just achievements, but it's good to look back and see and reflect afterwards as well.
So you treat it like a portfolio, basically,
like
or like a diary.
Diary. Yeah, exactly.
That's really, really interesting.